Hello, hello. Welcome to the Get At It Gaming podcast. I kind of hesitated because I was like, this isn't a gaming episode. And
No,
you
no.
guys already know that, but like still that's our our brain. I don't know why I said that. Um but hello. Hello, some might say. I would say. Um yeah, this is one of our special episodes. So if you're hearing this right now, that means that we are on vacation, winter break. So um, hope you're having a nice winter. Hopefully you get some break off as well. Break from school, work, whatever you guys do. Yeah, hope you're all well. How you doing? Tweet at us how you doing. Right.
Yes.
Tweet us, say I'm fine. Um, but today is a special day because as we do with our special holiday episodes, we do fun things. So depending on what we've done already, I believe we've already done. I'm trying to think of things that we've recorded, things that air. There should have been a Karate Kid thing that already happened. So, like, that we do talk about movies, we do other things. Today is The Matrix. Now, originally, what we were going to do was going to do the whole trilogy. And then I watched the first movie and I thought, like, I guess spoilers for Matrix. Maybe we might say this later, but a lot of spoilers. But it's a really good standalone film. But if you watch anything else, you're probably not gonna like it. So we're just why not just do the one film that's actually good, um, or overall good. Like there might be good parts and cooler action sequences in the other films for sure, but like the story in this one is fun. Overall, it's just very interesting and stuff. So, yeah, we're doing The Matrix, 1999's The Matrix, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie Ann Moss, Hugo Weaving, a bunch of people. Um, Ben, I guess I didn't introduce you. This is Ben.
Yeah, I'm here too. I'm actually glad we're doing this one. And now one thing with the reason we picked this specifically is this is where this should come out right before the new Matrix movie comes out on HBO Max and in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I will tell you, when we were talking about what we wanted to do, Alex, this is one of my favorite, the Wachowski sisters. I don't know if they did anything much before this, uh, but I went to go see this in the theater. I knew nothing about it. I saw a trailer and I was like, well, we'll go, right?
Yeah.
Um, anyone that knows me, I'm a big martial arts guy. And I looked this up and I'm like, okay, so I'm going through the cast, I'm going through everything, and I see the action choreographer and I see Wu Ping, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. And what I saw on screen exploded my eyes. I mean, they're normal now, but it was crazy. Like at the time when this came out, we had never seen anything like this
Yeah.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
Internet was coming up, so people had the internet was decent. It wasn't just dial up. Um, you know, I think when this came out, it was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it tackles interesting like story elements and just as well as just different ideology and stuff as to like are we in a like it's one of the first things that like poses the question, are we just in a simulation? Like I'm sure there are things
Yeah,
before that, but like this is the one that definitely popularized popular lot man, I can't say things, made this popular,
yeah.
and just made it in I don't know the overall mind of the people, and yeah, it's still timeless, even though a lot of the stuff is ancient as far as like because technology like yeah, this is 1999. Time of recording this, it's 2021. So like
Yeah.
yeah, 20 years. And technology grows so fast and just advances so much, that just seeing the old cubicles with like the older, like basically gateway computers, um or like his big old cell phone that like has the flip thing as well. Now it wasn't like the Will Smith cell phone from Fresh Prince, you know, like the big old brick. It was like it was almost it was almost portable, I would
It,
say.
it it was funny because at this time, Nokia was like the number one cell phone distributor. I had that phone. I spent. I had a friend of mine that had it, and a friend of mine's cousin had it, and he goes, "Hey, he just got a new phone. It'll sell to you for $200." I'm like, done, done. Bought it. I was like, I have the phone for the Matrix. Nokia. It was, dude, it was awesome. But I love, like you're right, like cubicles and stuff like that. And I feel like, I think the reason I like this movie so much is because if you didn't watch the trailer and you just walked in, be like, oh, it's another action film, Keanu Reeves, I saw him in Speed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Bill and Ted, you're gonna walk in, you're gonna be like, whatever, and then you're gonna get blown away by the
You're
craziness.
gonna walk in and go, whoa.
Yeah.
Like he
Well,
does so many times.
well, and I think this is the movie that established Keanu Reeves as an action star. I think
Yeah.
Speed did okay. It was not like it was okay, but this was the amount of training that Keanu Reeves did 2 years before this film even came out was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, there would be no John Wicks. There would be none of these other films that he's done now
Fun
if he
fact,
didn't do.
at the time that we're recording this, I still have not seen a single John Wick. By the time this airs, I hope to rectify that, but yeah, still have not seen a John Wick as of yet.
I own all three of them,
I know you do. You keep saying it.
physical copies.
Yeah, I know.
I
I just
will
don't
give them
have
to you.
I just don't have the time, I guess, or the patience maybe. That'll be one of these things while we're on vacation, you know. I'll probably just watch them with my dad. He likes those crazy movies. I think he's probably seen all of them already, but he'd be up for seeing those.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely makes Keanu Reeves like the action star. But when you watch this film, and as again, this is a whole episode about the Matrix, so there are going to be spoilers. Also, it's a 20-year-old movie. So
Yeah.
come
Come
on.
on, people.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Matrix already, what are you doing? Go watch the Matrix. If you don't want to watch the Matrix, I would recommend not listening to this episode. If you still want to hang out and listen, cool. Stick to it because you're not gonna understand anything. But
We'll work it out.
yeah. So let's talk about, well, first of all, Keanu Reeves in this film. The thing I really like about him is that when he is playing Mr. Anderson, what's his first name?
Neo Anderson. No, wait.
No.
That, no, that's his
Neo's
real
a
name.
screen name.
Yeah.
Is it like
They never really said his
I
first
feel
name.
like this Thomas A. Anderson.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, Thomas Anderson. Like yeah, this guy is basically like a software developer by day, and by night he's like making crazy, I don't know, just crazy viruses, drugs
Yeah.
potentially, just a bunch of crazy things and selling stuff, hacking things. But during this film, for the majority of it, he doesn't do much action.
No.
Because if you notice, like even when he learns when he knows kung fu, like even when he does that, Morpheus, like they do the fight and they're all watching the fight and stuff. Like, yeah, that's really cool. That's the most action we've seen from him up until that point. And then even then, when they go out into the field, he's not doing a whole lot because they don't
No.
really take him out into the field until near the very end when they have to go on his first like mission, and then Morpheus gets stolen away, and then they have to go back, and he's like, I am the one, and does all this stuff. Like that's when he finally like does his own and just actually fights. And I really do respect that out of the movie. is that it proved that he didn't believe himself the whole time, for a majority of the film, and that's really cool, and it really does show because he wasn't like this crazy, like awesome fighter. Like once he found out
Yeah,
like the whole um what the Matrix is and everything, he still didn't understand it. So like yeah, he still like hesitated when they were fighting certain things, when they were running away and all this other stuff because it was still so new. So like yeah, watching a second movie or something, or even at the end when he has all the powers and stuff, seeing someone more established. That's why 2 and 3 are more action based films, because like he is doing a lot of action
yeah,
for the majority of the films.
yeah. I think the best thing was when he gets when he gets out of the Matrix and he's sitting there and all these people are like looking at him weird because Morpheus is drilled into everybody that he is the one.
Mm-hmm.
That's my dog, by the way. At this point I was not home for like 2 days, so he's excited. But he definitely was like this is weird because everyone's like looking at him weird and stuff like that. And so, um, he was like, I don't think I'm the one. I don't think I'm this. But it's crazy because then, he starts training and in the Matrix, learning things is like super quick, um,
Yeah.
you can learn stuff super quickly. And like, there was a couple times where Trinity had to learn how to use a helicopter or whatever. Get down.
uh
Oh my gosh. He's excited, folks. I'm sorry. He's more excited about the Matrix than I am.
I love
But
it how, because we've been like testing stuff for a while,
yeah,
and he's been so quiet. But then as soon as he knew that you were doing a video, he's like, "Oh man, I gotta go
yes.
bother him."
But yeah, like I think the crazy part is like watching everyone treat him differently and like really treat him differently or whatnot. And he's like, I don't understand what's going on. But his whole life outside of work, where you do these hacks and he would do all these things, was to find Morpheus. That's what he wanted. Um,
Subconsciously is what they say,
Subconsciously,
because they're saying like you're trying to find him.
yes. So he finally does, and he finds out that the world that we know is no longer there.
Yeah,
The machines are taking over and using basically humans as batteries. Uh,
which is a whole nother thing, because there's a lot of like, technically a human wouldn't sustain that energy. If anything, it would burn more energy because you have to give the human energy in order to use the energy. Calm down, it's a sci-fi movie, who cares?
I mean, we don't talk about mini chlorians in this film, but that was in a movie as well. But
It was.
I love the whole aspect of like, I mean, first off, you find out that what you thought was real is not real.
Yep.
And this is where the movie takes a huge twist. You're watching it, you think everything's great, and then it's like, holy shit, what just happened? And now they're like, all of this. So I, I'm not saying that Keanu Reeves is a diverse actor, but it is good to see him go from the normal day to day things that he does, finding this out, you know, being reborn or awakened, as they call it. Um, and then he's like, dang, not only did I find out that everything I thought was real is fake, now I'm like this, you know, the savior of the entire human race, So, in the movie, I feel like, yes, you have that action at the beginning, and then you kind of set this all up, but the pacing is very well done. You know,
Yeah, so again, like you're talking about how they feel really awkward around him in the very beginning. I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, because they don't really know if he is the one or not, but like Morpheus is very certain on it. And the second reason is that they say they normally don't take adults out of the Matrix because that's taboo, because adult brains are already associated with the Matrix so much that like their memories are too attached.
yeah,
So like they normally take people out as children or maybe as teenagers, I'm not too sure yet. um but like that's what they do, so just seeing an adult for the first time come out of there is probably jarring as well.
Yeah, and I mean, not to jump around from scene to scene, but the scene where he visits the Oracle, it's a room full of kids.
Yeah,
You know, like the one kid is like, to try. I love the little kid was like, to
bending a
try to
spoon.
spin the spoon is impossible.
Yeah,
The hard part is knowing the spoon's not even there.
it's been the world around the spoon or something like that.
Yes, and like that, I think is there. But when you said I know kung fu, that was my favorite scene. He'd been
Yeah,
going all like I guess he'd been going for a while, several hours, and all these the people that are on the ship and stuff. They're like, dude, he is a machine. That's the other thing that people were starting to really start to think about him because no one could go as long as he went. He just was like bam, bam, bam.
yeah, getting installs essentially.
Yes,
But that could be as well as because he was a blank slate adult being put out for the first time. So it's
right.
possible having a bigger hard drive, I guess, lack of better term, as an adult for your brain, never having any of this information before, that he can just do it like that super fast. There's more
Yeah,
endurance there.
I think that scene between him and Morpheus is so important. Um, you know, I love when he looks up and goes, "I know kung fu," and he's like, "Show me."
Yeah,
And they're in the dojo. That scene's super important because it
yeah,
shows. Like, here's the other thing: Keanu Reeves, besides him being an actor and an action star, he really does do all this training.
yeah,
And I love watching reaction videos of martial artists that are real martial artists. They're like, okay, so that style is like he's doing it right.
hmm,
But to watch him go with him and Morpheus, the kicks he's throwing and stuff like that, that stuff's not learned overnight.
mm,
And so he did all this training and he would switch styles like bam, he would be using like kung fu and then he'd be using Wang Chung, and then he would mix it up with
yeah,
like Jet Can Do. Uh, that's the parts that got me. And like I'm in the theater with all these people that have no idea, but being a big martial arts person that watches that, I'm like, holy crap, he's doing Bruce Lee, and he
yeah,
even did Bruce Lee's mannerisms
yeah. It's
in
really
that.
cool.
Yeah, and I think in the theater it was kind of a funny situation when I went. So my sister's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go on this date with this guy, but I want you to go to this movie with us." And I'm like, what is it? And she goes, it's a Matrix. I'm like, I'll go, whatever. I was mostly going to like mean mug the guy taking my sister out.
Hmm.
Which if he is listening, Nick, I'm sorry. You're a decent guy. But uh but when I left, that this movie is one of those things we talked about when you leave a movie, you're like, is it over? Uh,
Yeah,
but uh, I love that this movie, especially it goes from like slow to fast, and then when it gets to the end, I don't think people realize it's like an hour or so. The ending of the film with everything that happens that last hour.
yeah,
There's so much action in that last hour.
yep,
It's ridiculous um, for the movie.
yeah. Like, this movie is definitely a roller coaster, and like you said, it does. I mean, it's like the way that a book works too. Like everything does, like you're going up a roller coaster, and you get to the climax, and then it's just all fun, just all this action, all the way down to the resolution, and yeah, like everything matters as well. Like everything builds upon each other. Like in the very very beginning, where he gets like the computer gets hacked by Trinity, um and it says follow the white rabbit, and then like it's Alice in Wonderland, and they keep referencing Alice in Wonderland, and then he finds like a girl with like a white rabbit tattoo, and he follows that. That's how they find Trinity and all this. But like even when he does meet Morpheus for the first time, face to face within the Matrix, in that iconic, just like gothic room, with like the big I don't know, chair essentially,
Yep.
and all that, and like the pills and stuff, and just his man, Lawrence Fishburne just has like a very iconic and just stoic, really cool face, especially with those glasses, because you cannot see his eyes. But then when you see his smile with his gap tooth thing, like it just like I don't know, like it builds the part, and it just makes it um just very interesting, because like he looks very he looks very serious all the time, but then you just see that little smile, just like with his
Yeah,
smile, and you're just like, oh, this is really cool. Like he knows what he's talking about, and he's actually very excited to see Neo like take the pill and stuff. And yeah, this very first meeting, as I said before, is very iconic. You know, take the red pill, take the blue pill, depending on what he does. He says, what was it? Like you stay in Wonderland, or I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Like
yep,
again, more Alice in Wonderland type stuff. He goes through the Looking Glass. He actually like
yeah,
touches the mirror, and then it gets all, I don't know, alloy, like hot
yeah.
metal, and just goes all over him.
Totally 90s special effects.
But it actually looks fine though.
Yeah, I think it transitions well to now. I know that these films are now on 4K,
Yeah.
and they've redone a bunch of things to kind of like help. Now, I would love for the Wachowski sisters to um, give these films like a fresh, maybe a Snyder cut.
Mm,
I would love to see that in at least the Matrix. I'm sure there's so much stuff they had to cut
probably.
because this film, I was looking at it's 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Mm.
Um, and
They're each like
I
that too.
yeah, I mean they're all 2 hour films. I would love to see that 3 hour Matrix film. I feel like there'd be so much stuff that we missed before. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And you're talking about Lawrence Fishburne. Here's the thing: is he's already older at this point
Yeah.
when he did this film, and he still did his own fight scenes and did a lot of his own stunts.
Yeah.
Um, I hand it to a guy like that. You
Mm.
know, it's weird seeing the new trailer for the new one. Morpheus is a completely different person, which we'll find out maybe why later. Uh,
So I think I've talked about this before.
I think you have.
Supposedly the online game is canon. So if they do that in the online game, Morpheus died. So if they do actually take that for canon again, then yeah, Morpheus is actually dead, and that's someone else.
Yeah. So, but like, and I think we were talking about different cast members. Let's talk about Hugo Weaving, who just got off of like Lord of the no, not Lord
He
of the
hasn't
Rings
even done
yet.
Lord of the Rings yet.
Yeah. So he was like this, you know, where's he from? I want to say Wales. No.
I'm looking. I'm looking.
Um,
Nigeria,
yeah. But he's got that distinct,
Australia.
yeah, he's got that just before he did this, he did a drag queen movie. Um, you know, so he to come in this role and to do this as Agent Smith, which by the way, nailed it. Like all the
Mm,
others, there's usually three agents altogether in these films, but he is the most feared. And he's not even scary looking or anything like that. But I love it when you hear Mr. Anderson, like, you know, I just
yeah,
love,
it's so good. Just
yeah,
yeah,
uh,
you just like everyone does that joke still. Like when they hear Anderson or something like Mr. Anderson.
I'm sure
Everyone does that.
I'm sure that he gets that more than he gets his role from Lord of the Rings. But it's important because I feel like this movie, I feel like his career blew up. There were so many people in this movie whose careers were like, I don't think Lawrence Fishburne was. I mean, he was already Academy Award winner, Boys in the Hood,
Mhm.
which was earlier, more of a dramas. But like, I think for Keanu Reeves was really not doing a lot of films.
Bill and
You know,
Ted, and I'm looking here.
yeah, I know
Point
Speed,
Break and Speed.
yeah, which Point Break is a iconic film as well. But then all of a sudden, once this film came out, he was being called all over the place. Um,
Yeah.
you know, he did a movie um, later on that he did with he produced it. I think he helped direct it. But one of the action actors from the second one, named Tiger Chan, they did this movie together, and it's a weird Matrix feel like film
Huh.
there. But I mean, if we're looking at the list here, there were so many people that had not been in a lot of films. Uh, Carrie Ann Moss. I mean, really. And then it just blew the careers up. And then the Wachowskis, they were told that this is your one film. If
Hmm.
it does well, we'll let you finish the other ones. Like, no, this is more than that. Uh, you know, I mean, how nervous is that? You get to make your movie, and I guarantee the studios were watching them like a hawk. Every penny had to be accounted for
Yeah.
because of this, and the movies had to be a success.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of the trivia. The open action scene with Trinity and the cops took 6 months of training and 4 days to shoot. By the way, in Con cinema, that would never fly. Someone's getting hurt, but I think they came in, they pitched it, and Warner Bros. Was like, "We'll do it," but I guarantee they had someone on set watching them like a hawk.
Hmm.
And then it gets to theaters, and it just blew up. To me, this is like, I feel there's so many movies after this that are like Matrixy like. Have
Hmm.
you ever noticed that?
Oh,
It
for
was like,
sure. Like, I was actually kind of afraid going back to this film because it's been so long. That so I'm a child of the 90s, and yes, I saw The Matrix probably when I wasn't supposed to. I saw Matrix 2 and 3 in theaters, and I think we did the math once. I was like 11. But yeah, so the things that happened when I was younger is a lot of cartoons, a lot of shows and things like that would do Matrix parodies
oh
of
yeah,
like the bullet time because that was just such a new thing. The crazy like I don't know rock techno type music that was happening like during that kind of
the
stuff.
clothing line. That's
Yeah, just everything about that like was parodied and used so much is that I was afraid that I wouldn't enjoy the film and that because it was so overused for me just in my life. But just seeing it within context and watching the film, like I was like, "Oh, this is as bad as I thought it'd be." Like it's still goofy and stuff, definitely,
yeah.
but like this is fun. I'm enjoying this.
I think it's funny you make that comment about the dress. Every time I think about how they dress in there, I think of Grandma's Boy, the one character. Like, hey, the Matrix called. They wanted their coat back. Uh, like,
Now I just want to watch that movie because yeah, that guy
yeah.
is just like, I am a computer.
I think what's funnier is watching Shirley Jones, who's this like mom on Partridge Family, be god awful dirty.
Yeah,
Uh, but like every time I think of it, like the Matrix, that, um, you talked about, the bullet time, or the kick that Trinity does where they stop the camera and they do the 360.
yeah,
I feel like after this movie, when did okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent here because I remember that there was a movie that came out.
okay,
I think it was in the 2000s after
okay.
this. What's it called? It was a video game based movie, and the whole movie was those shots
Max Payne.
of no, what was it?
Yeah. Well, Max Payne used bullet time. It was
Yes.
bullet time the game, which was very inspired by this. But there was a Max Payne movie. That's why I got confused.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg.
Marky Mark.
Uh, no, what was it? Oh God, it was based off a Sega game.
I don't
What
know.
was it? There was a shooter, on rail shooter, something of the dead, House of the Dead.
House of the Dead.
I think that was it. By the way, one of the worst movies ever made. God awful. But like literally, so this House of the Dead came out in 2003. 99 was The Matrix. There is like a full 20 to 30-minute scene where they're fighting the zombies, and they would stop and they would go all the way around there, which was totally stolen from The Matrix. Were so many people were stealing the Matrix
Yeah.
like things after this. And I feel like there was a lot of movies that came out that were very Matrixy like.
Yep. I agree.
There was a so I mean I feel like they started something with this film, you know.
Yeah. Definitely, and it helped do other good types of films and other mediums as well. is kind of similar maybe, but like there's things like those the games that I play or like the anime that other people watch, like Dot Hack or Sword Art Online or Log Horizon. Like they're very much like online world type things, but like having powers, but like there are two worlds. Um like yeah, like this became a staple in a lot of pop culture just to have like a two world thing.
Yeah,
Like regardless if one was real and one was not, or like with the Matrix, like they both suck. Both worlds suck. um, but yeah,
yeah.
just this kind of stuff became very popular. Now you brought up earlier, like the beginning scene. Now I haven't watched 2 and 3 yet recently. Every time Trinity answers the phone, she always answers the phone, looks out the payphone, puts her hand on the wall on the glass, and then gets hit by something every time. Because she answers the phone like 3 times, and she does this, and then it breaks
Right.
or whatever. I laughed because it kept happening so much. Like there's just weird stuff in this film to where it's a very good film, but there are certain choices where I'm like, this is dumb. But you know what? I'm enjoying this. This doesn't matter.
I tell you the thing when you talk about that scene, the scene where they're in the subway and they're trying to get out,
Hmm.
and you know, they just rescued Morpheus.
Yep.
They're in the subway, and the payphone gets shot up by, you know, Agent Smith, and same thing. They put their hand on the glass, and it's like bam, it gets destroyed.
Hmm.
My favorite scene is where he's by the stairs and he's gonna run, and they're like, everyone's already out, and they're
Hmm.
looking from the other side, and they're like, run, right? And he's like, no. Uh, it's almost identical when Trinity says run and Neo says no. So my thought
Yeah.
is this: do you think he can hear her because he's
So
like this?
because he was
You,
finally seeing the code and stuff, because they're like, what is he doing? He's starting to believe. And so like yeah, because he could finally see the code and do everything, dive into Smith and make him explode like at that moment, and do all the fighting and stuff. Like it's possible he could hear her at that time.
and that fight scene's awesome because the when minute starts, he's not winning.
Yeah,
But then
eventually he,
it's
he looks at himself like he's like, oh, I'm doing this.
yeah, uh, and I love that fight scene because it's so. Uh, I love it because they just like, I'm gonna enjoy watching you die. And then there's that scene where he does that roundhouse kick or whatever, and he
Yeah.
breaks his glasses,
Hmm.
and it gets real. But that I think my biggest thing is any fight scenes in any movies with anybody that's famous, like actors that are not professional martial artists, it's got to look real.
Yeah.
Except for the crazy kicks and stuff in the midair, that looked real. I
Yeah.
mean, they look like they were contacting. And you're talking about two actors that have no martial arts training.
Yeah.
That was to me, I was like, holy crap! And there's that scene where he's holding his leg up and he moves it and then he puts it down, and you're like, okay, that's a lot of skill.
Yeah.
Uh, but I love that. Um, that's one of my favorite scenes of that whole movie.
This final fight is like one of the most iconic things of this film. I love it when they go into like the subway, like where like the actual tracks are, and then he jumps out, and Smith looks and like gets hit by the subway, and it stops, and then Neo like takes a breath for a little bit, and the subway doors open, and then Smith just comes right back out because he's possessed another human like battery within the Matrix, and like it's just so cool because then the fight just keeps starting, just continuing until he finally believes, sees the code, and jumps inside Smith, makes him explode. The two agents just like look at each other and then just run away.
Yeah,
I love that. It's like that silent comedy of just
because he was dead. He was
yeah,
dead, and then he stopped. He started breathing again. I love it when they start shooting again. And he puts his hand up. He goes, "No,"
Yeah.
and then he just pulls the bullet out of the air.
And then they
You
all fall down.
Yes. Um, but I still think because anytime they've been on the phone, they're getting traced, obviously by the machines to set agents that way. At the very end of the film, it's all over. They win, and he's on a payphone. You see the tracing thing. It says tracing, tracing, and it says stopped because he stopped it. He goes, "I know who you are,"
Yeah.
and it's like that whole scene to me was like a sum of the whole movie. So
Yeah.
before he did not believe, he could not believe what he was doing, and then he's like, "Okay." Um, you know, I think if anyone is listening to this podcast has never seen this film, it is an older film, but you have to watch it because I feel like this film broke all kinds of things that like records and things like of that nature. If we would not have had this film, it makes me think some of the other films we have today, would we have had those? You
I
know?
don't think so, honestly. Like, it was so groundbreaking for what it did, regardless of what you think about the plot or not. Like, it is a ridiculous plot again, but like it's a plot that is being fine-tuned in other mediums as well. So like one person sparked the idea, but then other people just perfect it and make it better. Or yeah, these cinematography type things that they do. Like there are other action movies and things that can do bullet time well, um, and does look really good, or just have a lot of really good action. And just yeah, I don't know, just there. So yeah, this movie still looks very good, as we said earlier. There's even a part like when he wakes up in like the tube, essentially, like when he wakes up out of the matrix, where right before when the metal goes down his throat and it sounds like I don't know, dial up or something, or like when yeah, it sounds like when when okay, this doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm dating myself, so like I don't know people. I I feel like most of our demographic who listen to this probably know what I'm going to talk about. But dial up existed back when. For people who don't know,
Yep.
dial up was internet, and you used phone lines in order to connect the internet. It was really slow, and you could not talk on the phone while you were doing it, because if you did and answered the phone, you just hear just a bunch of like random like staticky noises and things. That's why if our calls mess up or just mess up or anything, like that happens occasionally even at work, I'm like, oh, you turned into a robot, oh, you sound like the Matrix, because you sound like that scene when it goes like just very glitchy and stuff like that. um and yeah, that's why like that's an iconic noise for me too, because he's dialing out of the Matrix. But yeah, when he gets into that tube and like pulls off all the stuff, it looked like it was practical effects for a couple things. It looked like there was CG for like when the robots came in and they looked fine. But then when the robots like when it was shot a specific way, like as if we were looking from the robot's point of view, like actual practical arms came out and like touched him and
Yeah.
did stuff, and then it switched back to the CG, and it looked natural somehow. And this is a movie from '99, and I was just very impressed that the CG, like, it kind of looked like an FMV from maybe like Final Fantasy or something a little bit, but like it, because of how practical the effects were, I mean I believed, I guess.
Yeah. And I feel like this was very groundbreaking for the time period. We had never seen anything really this well done. Uh, you know, and as the Matrix films went on, they were pushing the boundaries of, I mean, all kinds of stuff. Um, and not to really talk about the other ones because we said we weren't.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he's fighting all the Smiths, that was pretty groundbreaking at that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love watching the behind the scenes of that, and they show like all these people that are dressed up like Agent Smith. And
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Weaving's like, this is just weird because you at some scenes they had to have stunt doubles,
Yeah.
but I think I'm going through some of the stuff on about this. This film won 4 Oscars.
I believe
Um,
it.
they had 42 wins and 51 nominations. Okay, that is really well done. House of the Dead had 2 wins, and they were like shit awards. So, uh, I think that is stands volumes there. But
Yeah.
like even my dad, who loves like a good action film and like some sci-fi, loved this film, and he's like, it makes me want to watch more sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it set the standard, and we're still seeing it today. Um, you know, the scene where Neo and Trinity are getting ready to go rescue Morpheus. He goes, I need a lot of guns, and all those things just come running by real quickly.
Yeah. Like you also see
Uh,
that a lot. Like that's another trope or like a parody that you see all the time.
yep. Um, but even when they walk in to the facility, and the guy's like, "Hey, I gotta kind of wave you down." He opens his coat, and it's just guns.
Yeah.
And he does
It's
like
just
that,
what the
and he does that whole palm punch, and they
Yeah.
show the guy throw him backwards, and it's all like slow motion. I'm like, holy crap, what is
I will
happening?
say when I was watching that particular scene, went a little long. It was a little long of a scene.
It did. It went a little long, but it was cool to see. Like, I love when the military comes down. They're like freeze, right, and they just go. It just happens, and they go. But I like I said, like I think this is if I had to do a top 20 list of my favorite films of all time, this one's on there. It's just so iconic. Um, it's very memorable. I would say like Star Wars. I'm not saying it's better than Star Wars, so don't hate. I'm just saying it's very memorable,
Yep.
and that most people have seen at least one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
I agree. Um yeah, there's a lot of things like, about this film that we didn't even talk about. Clearly, like the main antagonists, or one of the main antagonists, which was Cipher,
yeah,
which is crazy. Like that man, he loved he hated his post apocalyptic life so much that he was willing to rat out the rest so he could just be a battery again because he was just like make me a millionaire. Uh or what do you say? He wanted to be humble, but he's like, just make me a millionaire, have a mansion, have all this other stuff.
yeah. He's
Um,
like, he's like, I want to be well off.
yeah,
You know, I love it because he's eating like looks like roast, maybe I don't know the word.
he's eating steak.
That's what it is. Because
Yeah,
I know this isn't real, and they're sending code to my brain right now to tell me how this is going to taste. Uh, he's like
yeah,
ignorance is bliss, and he's making a deal with Agent Smith.
yeah,
Uh, Unfortunately, Dozer dies,
yeah.
but it's actually several people died. Switch died. Um, Dozer died.
Tank almost
Who
died.
Yeah, they're getting ready to pull on Morpheus. It's
APOC.
Morpheus. APOC, yeah. And they shot him. So
Did
um
Mouse die?
yeah, but he got shot.
Oh yeah, that was earlier. Yeah,
Yeah. The other thing that I found, we're kind of like jumping around a lot, I'm sorry. But when Neo sees the black cat and then he sees it again, he goes, huh, that's weird.
deja vu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
I was a young kid, so I didn't really know what deja vu was until I watched this film,
I
and so
knew
that's how I learned about it.
I knew that was a game for NES. That's about it. Uh but like, that's right before. That's because Cypher set him up.
Yeah,
Um, what sucked is I wanted to see more with, APOC and Switch in the field.
yeah,
That's what I wanted, and they didn't get very much playtime. Uh, but like I said, I still think the movie's great and it holds up well.
yeah,
Uh, the Wachowski sisters, I mean, props because they not only wrote it but they directed it as well. I can't work
yeah.
with any of my siblings, and they were able to pull this off. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's crazy that they had this vision and then like it seems like they they did just what they tried to accomplish. Like it seems very complete. There might be some things here or there which they end up doing, maybe like the video games, like Enter the Matrix or Path of Neo. I don't know if those are canon. I think Enter the Matrix is canon because I think that takes
Yes.
place between 1 and 2. Um, yeah, but Path of Neo, I'm not sure. Supposedly Matrix Online, like I said earlier, is canon. It takes place after the third film or something. But yeah, it's just shocking to see, yeah, something that two people created, directed, wrote everything, and come out this clean.
And I mean, here we are right now, 2021, and there's a new film coming out very shortly. Uh, in my mind, when was the last time, besides Star Wars, that you saw a movie that came out this long ago and they're doing another one? I mean, I know there has been, but I mean, really. And I'm actually looking at the cast, and there's a whole bunch of people in this one, including Jada Pinkett Smith, who was in the other ones.
Huh.
Um, but
Yeah, huh. Yeah, I'm trying to think because you brought up that question. Like, I'm not sure what else besides, like, I guess Home Alone, because, like, we talked about um back in, I guess October is, yeah, dated us. But yeah, we talked about like Home Alone stuff because that should be out by the time that this episode currently. Like yeah, that's one of the things where it's borrowing a lot. Like that is a big franchise from back when that is making a comeback. Um you don't see it often unless it's a reboot. But like this is an
right,
actual sequel as far as we can
right,
tell. It looks like, I don't know, it kind of looks like a soft reboot because the reason why we're talking about the first film as well is because this the trailer, specifically the trailer that we have seen, borrows a lot, like symbolism and just all this kind of stuff from the first movie. It doesn't really reference the other movies at all. So
no.
yeah, that's why we elected to just really talk about this film specifically. So yeah, I am definitely looking forward to this film. I'll probably watch 2 and 3 and probably the Animatrix before this all comes out. Just get my Matrix fix, get everything in there. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic because honestly, 2 and 3 didn't really enjoy a whole lot even back then. Maybe I will now. Now I'll go and rewatch them. But like yeah,
Well,
you're getting John Wick Keanu in this. So
yeah, and I also, what people don't, I don't know if people realize this, is it's not the sisters together. It's only one of them.
mhm.
Only one of them wanted to do this movie, or I don't know. I don't know if they just didn't want to do it, or they were just like, hey, I don't have the time for it. But I think, yeah, it's Lana. It's the
Okay.
only one, Wasikowski. So she wrote it. She's directing it. It should be interesting, to be honest. It literally is like John Wick looking, you know, Neo, and there's some memory loss, and there's some things that like I don't remember this, So
He's just taking a bunch of blue pills. Like that's what he's
yeah,
prescribed as well.
yeah, and so it should be interesting to see it. But we wanted to do one of of this just to kind of like it's fresh on everyone's brain to kind of talk about what we
Yeah.
liked about it. So people that had not seen it could be like, you know what, I'll check them out. I will be honest, if you watch 2 and 3 just to finish it, yeah, I think they're okay. I don't think they're great.
I was a kid when I saw them, and we talked about it once. I don't know if we talked about it today, but like those came out like within 6 months of each other, like which is crazy. They both came out in 2003. Like wow, like that's a lot to do to close off a movie within 6 months of each other. Um, yeah, I remember thinking they were okay and hyped because like I was a kid and I had the Matrix Revolutions poster in my room, like the one like where it was raining and like it had Agent Smith and all of that.
Yeah,
Like yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to watching these, and seeing all the symbolism allegories of Neo is Jesus and all this other crazy stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited to like see this with adult eyes and really get an understanding of um yeah, just overall like I'm I didn't understand it as a kid. I enjoyed it because it was actiony and all that. So um yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But cool. I think that's a good place to stop it. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Talking a while. We kind of went in and out, talked about certain things. Um, but yeah, this has been your special about the Matrix. Go see the Matrix. HBO Max and in theaters the 21st, 22nd.
It's 22nd.
Okay. So yeah, go watch that. You can also currently should be able to probably by this time you're listening to this or watching this. It should all be on HBO Max as well. The whole trilogy and the Animatrix. So if you're itching for some Matrix, definitely give those a watch. But yeah, do you have anything else to say?
No, but I will say, get at it.
Get at it.